How's it going, guys? This is CryptoBud here for today. In this exclusive interview, I'm going to have the founder and CEO, Shahaf here, who is going to talk a little bit about an upcoming project that has to deal with cryptocurrency payments. And the project is going to be COTI, which is going to be which is going to be basically a currency payment in the internet. And there's a lot of great things about this project that I thought I wanted to share with all of you, because as you already know, cryptocurrency markets have a couple of challenges dealing with specifically payment systems, fees, and whatnot. And so this project really kind of tackles some of the fundamental problems. So thank you very much for joining us, Shahaf, today. And how are you doing?
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much. I'm actually calling you guys from Japan. We are at a Japan Block Week conference. Excuse me, we're at Japan's blockchain conference. Just wrapping up things here today.
Awesome. Yeah, we just had a conversation beforehand about in Japan how it's really difficult to pronounce the names out there. So I've yet to visit Japan, but I think it's a great city to be in. So thank you for joining us. So first of all, tell us a little bit about the overview for the project. What makes COTI here? What is it about? It's for somebody who has never really seen anything like this before.
Yeah, for sure. Well, first and foremost, we've created a new blockchain. We've created a new blockchain because we've seen a lot of downfalls with today's blockchain, specifically around scalability, stability, regulation, and protection. And we created a new blockchain, and on top of it, we are actually creating the first application, which is COTI Pay, COTI for payments. And with that, we think we are able to solve what's down with traditional payment systems like Visa, MasterCard, and PayPal. And specifically, we are addressing the issue of high fees, slow settlements, and the fact that it's not inclusive for 2 billion people around the world. So we are solving all of that while fixing what's not so good with cryptocurrencies. And with both of this combined, we've created a new system that can be used for other industries as well, outside of the payment industries like IoT and so on. But with all of that, we are a team of 30 people with R&D and management in Tel Aviv. We're incorporated in Gibraltar, and we are launching COTI in about 2 months' time.
Awesome. So my understanding is, just after going over the research here, is you have two parts of it. The first part is being the actual cryptocurrency side, which allows people to transact money. And then the other part is the infrastructure play. Can you let's talk about the first part, which is going to be the payment systems. What advantages does your project have over existing platforms like PayPal and fiat? I know you mentioned a couple of them, like the fees and whatnot. So based off your research in the industry specifically, what are you bringing to the table that's going to allow your project to really shine compared to these other existing platforms?
Yeah, well, when comparing to traditional systems, if you consider it, you'll see that, for instance, online merchants, when they sell something in a competitive market, if they're lucky, their margin, the profit before they pay taxes is around 10 to 15%.
Yeah.
Now, supposedly, if you paid about 3% for processing fees, you'll pay that out of your turnover. This is a very substantial amount coming down from your bottom line. Mm-hmm. And we can help you with that. And if you pay low to zero fees, this goes directly to your profits. If you're unable to process a credit card because of various reasons, or you're getting 10% decline rate, this again is something that can help you with your business as an online merchant. And last but not least, if you just take credit cards or PayPal, you are not addressing about 2 billion people around the world. This, and they can buy and they can pay. You're losing all of that. Last but not least, of course, is micropayments, nano payments. You can't deal with that with credit cards. So if you're just trying to bill a little fees, COTI is probably your best answer.
So let's take a look at PayPal as an example. So let's just assume it's and I think it's roughly 3%, or between, like you mentioned, right, 3% for fees. What would your fees be like on that end? Would it be 0, or would it be somewhere in the middle between 0 and 3?
Now it will be a lot closer to zero. And actually, what's nice about what we do is that your fees are not set. They are actually changing depending on how much trust you need in this transaction. So if you're processing a transaction from someone with high trust, your fees will be almost zero. And if it's of low trust, there'll be 0 point something, right? 0.0 something. The good thing is that with what we do with decentralized system, there is no costly infrastructure between you and as a merchant and your consumer. So the only reason we'll ever take fees is because node operators will take little fees. Another thing to understand, because we've built COTI over direct cyclic graph over DAG, an actual blockless system, there is no mining, there is no not a lot of proof of work, so there is no energy consumption. So actually the costs are extremely low, and this is the dawn of a new era.
Yeah, I noticed that you're using, so guys, for those of you who have not heard, DAG is actually what IOTA is using in terms of their architecture for scalability. So let's talk a little bit about that, because this is something I haven't seen a lot in some of the other projects that attempt to do cryptocurrency payments. So let's talk about DAG. First of all, how far along are you in implementing this technology? And as far as using it as a potential infrastructure play, will this speed up the transaction speeds that we've come across in Ethereum, obviously, and Bitcoin?
Sure. Well, a bit about DAG, and the bottom line is, yes, this is very scalable.
Perfect.
And compared to the 10, 20, or 100 transactions per second you can do with today's cryptocurrencies, with DAG you can do 10,000 transactions per second. Okay, so this is a few orders of magnitude faster and scalable. And actually 10,000 is what you need if you want to do payments, and if you want to do IoT, if you want to do large data storage. So DAG, the interesting thing about DAG is blockless. So there is no mining and not a lot of proof of work, and it's not linear in nature. And when new transactions are added to the network, the toll that they pay is that they need to validate 2 previous transactions. And almost intuitively, you can understand that as more transactions are added and as the network grows, it actually becomes faster, not slower. It has an exponential effect. So this is why a lot of people, the smart developers and the smart money in this industry right now, look at DAG as maybe the future of blockchain. Some call it, blockchain 3.0. Because this is, finally something that is very scalable. COTI is doing it, IOTA is doing it, but we're not alone. Hashgraph is doing it.
That's right.
Nano is doing it. It's an amazing data structure, and on top of it, we have created a new consensus mechanism based on transaction ranking, and with that, we can achieve an immense scale, not consuming energy, and with low to zero fees.
Got it. The other part I wanted to kind of touch, because you mentioned Nano, and I think this is great because we have a lot of projects that are kind of doing something similar, but I think your project has tackled a couple of these regulation space. Okay, so Nano versus COTI here. What are some advantages that you're bringing to the table, specifically dealing with regulators? So, for example, someone does the transactions and then they're like, I want to reverse a transaction, or I have a dispute with a transaction. As far as I know with Nano, if I send someone some currency and there's a dispute, it's pretty much done, right? You're going to have to deal with the other person. Do you have any sort of trust mechanism, especially with businesses where we know that things obviously sometimes they go wrong, as a consumer and also as a business owner?
Oh yes, amazing, and actually explain. Thank you for asking that. I actually explained that yesterday on a panel here in Japan. We say that the cryptocurrencies are a trustless system, right?
Yeah.
This is the poster for cryptocurrencies, but the fact is that they actually make you dependent on trust much more. in a sense that if you know that once you paid with the cryptocurrency, it's irreversible. There is
Yes.
no third party in between that you can call and say, hey, you know what? The product was never delivered. Charge this back. Or in PayPal, or
Yeah.
I would like to dispute that.
Hmm.
There is no third person. This is what drives the costs down. But when trust is broken, you're actually looking for a mediator, for someone in between. So we've realized that no cryptocurrency will become massively adopted if we can't solve the basic issue around protecting consumers and buyers, consumers and merchants alike, because merchants can sometimes be affected by trust being broken when someone just frauds them and charges back a transaction for a product
Yeah.
he actually received. I think people in the States were arrested lately trying to fraud Amazon for $1.5 million. So,
Yep.
so how do we do that? We've realized this is going to be something important. We've realized that no cryptocurrency have solved that before, and we've created a decentralized system to resolve disputes. So actually, we have over 1,000 people right now that are COTI's mediators. So mediators are everyday people that use COTI, that have a high trust score, that have went through a know your client screening, that have answered questionnaires, and that are out there ready to help us resolve disputes. And if a dispute arises, we form a committee of anywhere between 3 to 31 of them anonymously, and they don't know each other and they can't coordinate their vote. And they need to analyze real world data and look at the dispute. And there are certain rules, of course, to that. But then they need to pass judgment and they need to vote. And they are voting for an outcome. If the consumer will get paid back, if the merchant will keep the money, or anything in between. But voting is not enough, because how do we know that they even care about what they vote on? We can't just trust their good faith, because we wanted a trustless system. So when they vote, they actually stake tokens on their vote. They're taking some of their COTI and putting it into a pool that is created. And when we finish with the voting process, and we need to look at the majority, a decision is made, and then the majority of voters take the pool and split it between them. And those who voted with the minority actually lose their tokens. And this is a way to incentivize good judgment. This is a way to give financial incentives for people that are spending time helping us. And it's completely decentralized. And it's based on certain rules and then game theory. And when you look at it over time, you'll see that this system will keep improving itself, because people that don't judge wisely will lose tokens and leave the system. And those who judge wisely will stay, because they have incentives to doing so. And it's actually of course, it's far better than not having any system at all, like cryptocurrencies. And we think it's even challenging to the traditional systems, where just two people will have a look and they need to finish a quota, and they just pass their judgment, and you have to deal with it.
Yeah, that's a really great point, and I'm glad there's something in place, because so if somebody were to say, well, which one am I going to use, Nano or COTI here, I think yours definitely has a more of a professional business piece that I think as a business I would definitely go for, because of that. And let me understand this. Is there a reputation score that gets attached? So if somebody decides to say, you know what, I was defrauded, and they just keep on saying that on and on and on, is there a ranking? I know you mentioned this earlier about fees and whatnot. Do they actually get penalized on some level versus people who are, let's say, doing it the right way? What?
Yes. Actually, and it's not just a score you can keep in your website, right? It's not just a vanity metric of sorts. It is actually part of the infrastructure. So based over DAG, with the new consensus mechanism, we have built a ranking mechanism. And once you join the network, you're getting a rank, right? Now, depending on the industry, we want to take trust chain into our infrastructure we call it trust chain. Around payments, your score will be a trust score, meaning we are trying to analyze how trustworthy your transactions will be. In a sense, If you are a merchant, how likely it is that you will actually deliver products and not fraud your users. If you're a consumer, how likely it is that you won't try to cheat other users or cheat the merchant. With this score that keeps changing over time, as the machines that we've built analyze your transactions, your score can go up and down. Why is it important? Aside of the fact that it is viewable by other users of the network and they can decide if they want to deal with you, it is part of the consensus mechanism, because when new transactions are added to the cluster, and this is the cluster is our data structure, and this is where we really diverge from IOTA, for instance.
Yeah.
As new transactions are added, they choose to validate transactions with similar trust score. And so you can imagine that clusters of chains will be created: high score, low score, medium score, and everything in between. In order to achieve consensus, we are actually looking to cross a threshold, a number. And if this chain has a lot of weight in it, because it is consisted of high trust score transactions, we cross that number faster. Faster means a consensus will be achieved faster, with less transactions, so less fees, better quality of service. If it's of low trust, it would just take a bit longer. And by the way, by a bit longer, I mean, microseconds versus nanoseconds, right? It's almost instant, but it will be a bit more complicated to the system, so it will need a bit more fees. But that is actually quite natural to how we behave. If I'm your friend and I live right next door and I want to pay you something, I can just give you cash. I expect it to be instant. I expect to pay no fees because I trust you completely. And if I don't, I'm going to see you tomorrow again, right? So it's quite easy and natural to how we behave. If I'm paying for something online, it may be a merchant on the other side of the world. I have never met him. He never met me. We may never transact again. We don't trust each other, right? So we need a lot of third party in between us, each relaying the trust that he has with the previous party, and then I can actually pay you, but then it won't be fast. Try sending money around the world, right? It will be a week, and you'll pay fees. So this is actually how our consensus behaves around payments. Other industries, maybe loans, maybe it's not trust score, maybe now it's credit score. With file storage, it can be permissions. Other industries, it can be reputation. So depending on what industry you want to operate in.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about the infrastructure piece. So from what I'm hearing is that your project has many different possible applications, not just the PayPal of crypto. Because I know people are probably going to say, we already have PayPal, we already have fiat, so what's the deal? Can you tell us a little bit more about specific use cases, applications that right now you could be partnering up with, or maybe I'm not sure if you're doing any white labeling, but let's say I'm a business owner, or let's say I have a upcoming project, and I want to use DAG, and I want to use payment systems for my project. We've seen that a lot just in recent terms where projects are now combining together to use some sort of payment system, because why use fiat when you already have a crypto? Can you kind of elaborate a little bit about that area?
Sure. We've built an infrastructure that can help anybody that is looking for high throughput, and again, IoT, payments, any financial services to be exact, file storage, logistics, anything can use that. We have already signed some partnerships around that. I can tell you that we have started working with a project called PEAQ, P-E-A-Q, coming out of Berlin, and they develop a smart contract that are agnostic to the infrastructure with us.
Okay.
We are here in Japan, and we are speaking with traditional payment providers, and they are looking to create a system that is feeless for their customers, so we can help them as well. I can't disclose the name, but we are dealing with one of Japan's largest conglomerates that is looking for these sort of solutions as well. A hospital actually spoke with us yesterday. They are looking to do storage of medical information, personal information in blockchain. They need it to be super fast and reliable. We can help them with that. So we've built a very robust universe that people can use. Now, the fact is that we see quite a lot of infrastructure play, and the reason I think is obvious. We are at that point in time where infrastructure is not set yet.
Yeah.
And people are trying to be, the people that have created the infrastructure that a lot of projects use. So I get that. But our play on it is that we are not just creating an infrastructure, then putting it in the wild, under the assumption that if you build it, they will come.
Yes.
We're actually driving the adoption by creating the first application on it that is going to be the killer app on that infrastructure. And we are driving the adoption ourselves. We have quite a substantial business team that's doing business development. And we have been able to add 3,000 merchants that will take COTI. So this is quite big. And payments by nature can be massively adopted because payments is something that everybody's doing all the time. And then it means that we are driving adoption of the protocol. And then other projects can see that and adopt to that as well, because the protocol will be improved over time, and this will be something that we control. Now, in a sense, and I know I'm hanging on a big tree here and standing on the shoulders of giants, but when Apple released, their protocol, let's call it iOS, right? They've released the phone with some applications. The first applications that use iOS were things that you got on your phone when you just bought it. And they were quite good, actually, and quite convincing. And then Apple created, the App Store, and then Apple allowed developers to develop apps. And now we have, an amazing universe. So I think it's important, it's critical to create the infrastructure, but it's extremely important to encourage the adoption and not just build an open source that anybody can use and just, wait for it. So this is our strategy around that.
Touching upon your strategy for adoption here, how does your technical part work? How far along are you guys? Do you have an MVP? Are you focusing on mobile? What's your strategy moving forward as far as the timeline and also the technical part?
Sure. So we've been developing about a year and a half now. We have about 15 developers in our team, developers, engineers, data scientists, mathematicians. We have a very, very solid and strong team, and people that have done R&D in Israel, in Tel Aviv, know the sort of access that we have to talent. My CTO, for instance, is a math PhD with 14 patents around AI and machine learning. I have, former head of research in IBM. Quite a solid guy, and he has an amazing team. So we are and we're developing around the clock. This is the days are long and thick, and we will release an AlphaNet this September. Actually, we're pretty far ahead in development, so people can actually have a look. And we will release about 4 nodes with that, so it will be completely full. It will be, a work in progress for many years, but the first spark that everybody can view will be this September, which is, around the corner.
Awesome. Now, in terms of your roadmap, looking ahead towards the end of 2018. Are you going to focus more on the technical part, or are you going to focus more on building those relationships with retailers and getting people on board, getting the word out? Or are you going to wait until the technology is, everything's kind of set?
Yeah, so we've made a decision to create 2 products that will merge in a few months' time. So we are releasing the AlphaNet, and that is just basically COTI's AlphaNet with our protocol and infrastructure. And we are also releasing, and I think this is actually the first time that we are disclosing that, we are releasing a product called COTI Zero. COTI Zero will be a proof of concept. It will be a business proof of concept. It will be an actual storefront where merchants can take COTI and users can pay with COTI. The back end of it won't be completely under our protocol naturally, because this is on beta stages, and we don't want merchants to have glitches.
Yeah.
And in a few months' time, we will actually change the back end to completely support our protocol. But with that actually means that we are already pushing the business side of it forward. So yes, we are now developing relationship with merchants. We have about 3,000 merchants applying to use COTI, and over 10,000 merchants coming from a partnership with processing.com. We have about 80,000 consumers that have opted in to download our wallet, get their first 100 COTIs for free, and start using it online. And we are releasing it as a full ecosystem. So we will have a coin, we will have a wallet, we will have COTI X, which is our gateway, meaning you can change crypto or fiat to COTI and vice versa at the checkout. So we are facilitating a very easy solution. And down the line in 2019, we will have a debit card. Not that it is that critical when you have an app for payments, but you know what? A lot of people actually like debit cards. So we will have that as well. So a lot of things are happening, in the next few months. Yeah. We wanted to start pushing development out and not stay at the concept level. Yeah. We've raised enough funds to support this for the next few years. We are still, we've been completely oversubscribed. So right now, we are only dealing with partners that can add a lot of value to what we do. And it's amazing, you see it coming to life. I think that if all goes well, in August, you will be able to use, and if you're already selected to this beta, you'll be able to, pay with a new currency for a product from a real merchant. And if it doesn't deliver, you can charge it back. So this is, again, dawn of a new era, I think.
With that said, I'm going to close here with a couple last ones. I mean, this is great. I mean, I am very, very impressed with for those of you guys who haven't visited their website, please do so, because they do have a lot of resources for you to dig into. I'm going to close off with this one question is countries and demographics. We've seen projects like Omisego, right? They say, we want to focus on Southeast Asia because we have the banking issue over there. In terms of the regulation space and all the issues right now with crypto, are you focusing on specific areas that you find it to be a little bit easier to transact? I know you're in Japan right now. Japan has been very, very friendly to crypto in different capacities in regards to adopting it versus other countries. What do you see in terms of your project being in? Are you going to do every single country? Are you planning on, rolling out specific ones or carving out a niche?
Yeah. So two things about that. First of all, we have applied for a DLT license. We've incorporated a company in Gibraltar, and Gibraltar is very accepting to cryptocurrencies, and have created a regulation framework, which is important because you need this sort of framework to know what you're expected of, aside of the obvious things. So we have applied for a DLT license. We have an office in Gibraltar. DLT license. Distributed ledger technology means that you can transmit value with cryptocurrencies. So that makes a lot of sense to what we do. And this license will gradually apply for Europe or any other place that doesn't specifically say you can't use crypto. So that is one aspect of what we do. The second aspect is focusing with regards to payments to where we are needed most. And we are needed most in certain geographies that have a lot of that have high fees with traditional systems, or in certain industries that normally pay high fees because they are considered high risk by the credit card companies. That would be software as a service, furniture, travel, gaming, gambling, you name it, and we will of course focus on these industries first because we can help them most. with that in mind, we've been pretty known in Australia and then in Europe. In Asia, it is a very strategic market for us, but it took us a while to get it. And we are now, just building our community in China, building our community in Japan, in Korea. In 2 weeks we'll be in Korea for a full week. So we're now doing this outreach, to be able to deal with these markets as well.
Great, thank you. I think I'm pretty much in regards to your community building here. Telegram. Where are you guys having your channels primarily? Is it are you growing that as well? Are you growing your community on Reddit?
We are working, all the channels, and we have presence in all of them. We have, more than 80,000 people following us in various channels. In Telegram, we are around 41,000 people. Facebook 20,000 something, and same goes for Twitter. So this is where we focus. We have been lucky enough to have an amazing person that has opened a community for us on Telegram in China. So that is in full Chinese, and we'll probably do the same for Korea and Japan as well.
Great. All right. Well, any last comments or thoughts about your project in terms of anything that maybe you would want to share with my channel here?
Yes, a lot of people ask us about what other crypto projects you're competing with, and my answer is, what are you talking about? Crypto is such a small fraction from what is happening, globally. And while I don't call, to all crypto projects to unite and form a front, this will never happen. I encourage people to understand that our competition is not other crypto projects.
Yeah.
Our competition is old habits, traditional systems, and skepticism. And while we actually want for other, cryptocurrencies to push payments as a solution with cryptocurrencies, because even today, if you look at you just go to a traditional website doing e-commerce and try to pay for something, you'll see, Visa, MasterCard, PayPal, and so on and so forth. And I think it would be easier for merchants and consumers to adopt to another cryptocurrency if one is already in place. And we are trying, to encourage this as an industry, right? I've been in internet advertising when that wasn't really popular, and people, have actually considered, is internet going to be a thing? And I explained to people, we're not competing against other publishers or other internet advertising bureaus. We are actually competing against television and papers. And I think it's kind of the same thing. And I would like to see more, industry crossing initiatives happening. We will announce one with other DAG-based projects. So we will let you know when it's formed. But we're trying to create, more momentum together than just each and every island.
Great. Well, thank you again for coming to the channel. And guys, thank you very much. Check it out for COTI here. COTI, keep on saying. It's going to be COTI.io. And if you have any questions, please put them below. I'm also going to be in connection with them. If there's anything specifically you want me to redirect, they also have a Telegram. They have everything that all projects have. And like I said, just check it out. And thank you for that closing thought, because I think that's something that most people have this mentality that, crypto is trying to disrupt an existing financial system. And, we can't do it with winner take all type of mentality, because we won't be able to fight off Visa, MasterCard, and even the existing traditional institutions, like you mentioned, they're big juggernauts. And so check them out. And but thank you very much again. Really appreciate the time.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I've enjoyed it.
Thank you. All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.